You can go.
It's you, not me. Like,
let's leave that. Welcome to the Soul Sisters podcast, hosted by myself, Alyssa Baker, and my very bestest of friends, Emily Allwine. We started this podcast because of the meaningful conversations we were having on our very own and regularly. Since Em is based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and myself in Golden, Colorado, we as adults have been scheduling time about once a month to catch up and check in. Each time we'd chat, at the end we'd joke saying that that should have been a podcast. Now that it is, we want to stick to what we set out to do in the first place, and that's to foster continuous, meaningful conversations. We've been doing that with the help of an incredible guided journaling book lately that we're going to share today. Em, hello. Why do you journal? And what benefits does journaling bring you?
Why do I journal? What benefits does journaling bring? Well, first of all, journaling for me just feels good. For me, it's a type of practice very similar to meditation where maybe I just can't get myself in the space for meditation. It's a place where my feelings live, right? And I think a lot of the time, especially when I was younger, journaling's viewed as like this deep, dark secret. Got to keep a diary. Don't let anyone read it. Really, for me, journaling is like the creative outlet. It's multiple things, right? It's creating a sacred space. It's, doing things to practice positive energy or set intentions, manifestations, connecting with my intuition. There's a lot that in the energy work that I do that I can do through journaling. It's very therapeutic in the sense of, maybe I'm just really pissed that day and I don't handle my anger very well. So I write it down. And then from a fun aspect, if you want to dabble in some witchiness, it's a good way to keep spells on record. So there's a lot of different ways I use journaling. How do you use it?
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing. You kind of made me think about recently my mom said she found one of my old journals from when I was really little, and it had like a lock on it, but then it broke, like the whole binding of it broke, and we read it and I was just like kind of a sad little lady, some of the things I said, but then I thought about it and I was like, it was good that I had that outlet, and even though it was like a little embarrassing to look back on it, kind of sad for little Alyssa, I was really happy that 8-year-old me maybe had that kind of process. Also, now in my life, as a 30-something, I try to make journaling a routine as often as possible. Every day is great, but I'm not going to lie, that does not happen every day. Helps me to get in touch with myself. And also, I've just noticed that when I offer journal prompts to my clients, they seem to really enjoy it. We reference back to it. Sometimes it's homework, sometimes they ask for it. And whether or not you all vibed with our earliest release guided meditations earlier on in the episodes, we're hoping that you might enjoy this kind of process, and we might be doing this more often. Would love your feedback on it either way.
For sure. I have to ask though, what did your childhood journal look like? Because mine was red and fuzzy with a glitter butterfly on front kind of it, and the lock was gold, and it had a key that I hid inside of my stuffed animal that now looks like a dish rag.
Wow, an Ice Cube himself.
The VIP.
Oh, wow. Mine actually was also red. I wouldn't say it was fuzzy. It was like velvet. It might have been a Harry Potter journal, with the HP and gold. It also had a gold lock, which never did break. It was like the actual book that broke itself. So way to go for that lock. Couldn't tell you where the key is or where it was because I did not know that journal existed until it became a physical object in my adult life. So it's amazing that you remember your journal from your youth.
I just had to ask because I was thinking you were talking about, reading through it. And when I found my journal, I was reading through mine, and I actually had a little bit of a different experience where it was sad a little bit, but we know that right now in my most recent life that I'm engaged and getting married, And I found a passage that I had written at the end of that journal. And I looked at the date. I was in the 5th grade. And in that journal, it said, I'm going to marry a boy with blonde hair and green eyes. And I am, in fact, marrying a boy with blonde hair and green eyes. And I was like, wow, manifestation is so real. So
Yes.
I've been manifesting since I was a young child, folks. Just need to know that.
There's some beautiful power to that.
Right? Right.
Oh.
So if there's any other reason to journal, one of them is your wishes might come true. Who knows? 5th grade Emily feels very happy right now. But that being said, let's talk about our prompt today. Good stuff. So the book that we are working from, everybody, is called Healing Through Words by Rupi Kaur. And she is one of our very favorite artists out there, one of our very favorite poets, and I was going to say illustrator, but that's the artist. What's the authors? She's one of our very favorite authors. And we found a lot of solitude throughout her work and throughout these prompts that she's put in here. And I'll even go as far as to say, as a friend of mine and I went to see Rupi perform live, and it was following that, in addition to a reading that I had with a witch from Ireland, that inspired me to want to write my own book. So hopefully, as we work through these pages, this can be a space for healing, maybe a spark for creativity, inspiration for next steps in your life, really just a space to feel safe. So we're going to read the prompt out loud for you today. And as we go through it, feel free to work through it with us. That being said, we really would love for you to purchase this book. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Target. Anywhere you can find Rupi Kaur, you can probably buy it, because we're going to do these more frequently. We're going to work through this book with you guys. We are also going to be publishing some prompts at our own, and hopefully it's something that you all really enjoy. So any feedback that you have, we would love to hear it on Instagram or via the chat Q&A on Spotify, our Facebook page, whatever works for you. So without further ado, we are going to open our books to page 246, exercise 9, and the title of this excerpt is Leaf. We start now with a paragraph from Rupi that says, when I'm having a rough day, I try to be out in nature. Walking, hiking, or having a picnic always helps my mood. I imagine how peaceful it must be to be a tree, leaf, or stem of water. Being close to nature always lifts my mood. It reminds me of how miraculous the earth is and how lucky we are to simply be alive. For this exercise, imagine that you're a leaf on a tree and what that would feel like. Answer questions 1 through 15 in their given order.
Don't read all the questions at once. Start by reading the first, answering it, then read the second, answer that, and so on. We will do this together, and you're very much invited to do the same thing. Don't think too long and hard on your answers. Write the first thought that comes to mind. Try your best to keep your answers between 2 to 3 sentences. Before you start, take a minute to close your eyes and embody the leaf. Imagine the experience using all of your senses. Once you begin to embody the leaf, get started.
Take a moment here. Feel free to rewind and listen to the instructions, or just take a moment to be the leaf. Think about where you are, how it feels, your environment. And we're going to start with question number 1. What does your skin feel like?
I wrote, my skin as a leaf feels finite and delicate, water resistant and sun loving. It is veiny and fragile and beautiful. Also kind of strong though, when I think about it. Yeah. What about you?
Right. I wrote warm and dewy, like I had just woken up in the morning similar to the dewdrops that I see on the outside of my tent. And I know it's going to be a really great day when Troy and I go to hike. That's immediately where I was at. And I drew a picture, actually, once I became the leaf. I actually drew a picture above where I was writing, and it's my tree and my leaf that I'm hanging off of. And my tree has a little cove, and there's a fox sitting under it with some mushrooms, some mountains in the back. And then I just drew some magic about it, because something about this question and just getting started and feeling like I was the leaf was like, okay, we're in nature, we're feeling this freedom, we're feeling very magical, we're ready to go. So that's where I started.
Thanks for giving us a bit of a better mental picture too. What kind of tree are you attached to? This is the second question. Describe its appearance or location.
I wrote a cottonwood tree. I don't know why I was so specific. I was like, it's a cottonwood tree. That's what it is. We're in the mountains. That's what we're doing. And like I said, it had like that little alcove where you can just see two little beady eyes. Maybe it's maybe it's a bird, maybe it's a raccoon, maybe it's an owl. An owl would be cool. I love me some owls. I didn't draw any animals in the alcove. It's very tall, very sturdy, roots uplifted out of the ground. And so I could tell that my tree is very stable. It's been there for a very long time. What kind of tree are you attached to?
I wrote, I'm an aspen leaf on a mountain pass with one great view that rarely changes. The breeze blows by and I move and sway until I fall off and float away. So I don't have a particular mountain pass in mind. Possibly Kepler Pass is one of the biggest aspen organisms in the United States, maybe the world. It's in Crested Butte, Colorado, and it's one of my favorite places to go to. And I just was thinking, as I was that leaf, like how cool to just have such a beautiful view forever all the time, I guess, at least until you fall off. And it takes that pressure away of like, oh, I need to travel, I need to go do these things. Because when you're a leaf, like there's nothing really you need to go do. And I love that.
I love that too. Almost like a manifestation of how you'd like to look at your life. Yeah. Even out being the leaf. Like, I know for me, my goal is to wake up in the morning, and you said not feel that urge like I have to go travel. Like, I want to wake up in the morning and see the mountains, and I don't care what mountains they are. I just want to feel like I'm getting everything I need and I don't need to go anywhere. I love that. Also, so not surprised that you said an aspen tree. For those that don't know, she is an aspen girly. She's been an aspen girly for a while. Loves her some aspens.
I do love me some aspens. Number 3, are you isolated or is there a lot going on around you?
I wrote, there is life, there is magic, there is energy. I'm isolated on the end of my branch, but I can feel the wind blowing and the world moving all around me, so I'm not alone.
I love that. That feels pretty empowering to hear, not as a leaf, but also as a leaf.
I went back and read it not as a leaf, and I was like, oh, that's like real life, where like I feel very strongly about standing on my own, but I always know I have my little community around me.
Yeah. So for me, for am I isolated, what's going on around me? Like I said, I'm in a group of aspens. I see water and wildlife everywhere I look. I hear sounds of birds and squirrels scuffling about. Yeah, I'm not really curious. I'm just kind of there and taking it in. And I'm not alone. There's a lot of other leaves with me.
Nice.
I
feel like that's reflective for you as well. You always have such a strong community of support around you. Love that.
Yeah, it's cool to, like, I didn't even think about changing this into just like, a non-theoretical version, but it's cool. I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I went back and read it afterwards and I was like, oh, this is manifesting into real life so hard.
Yeah,
Okay.
dude. Yeah, so segue, do you like your tree and why? It's like, whoa. Do you
Yeah.
like yourself? Like, oh my gosh.
Do you like your tree and why? For me, I didn't even look at it as myself. I think I was feeling this sense of like, I've been very stuck in a pattern of what happens next? Where do I go next? What's going to come of me? What's my next choice? And so I wrote, yes, I do like my tree because this is home and I can always come back here.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's a complete contradiction to our last episode and me being like, I don't want to go back there ever. So that was interesting to feel. What did you write?
I wrote, I love my tree. It's strong and tall and healthy and beautiful and does just what it's supposed to do. And when I think about what it's supposed to do, it like provides so much for me as a human being, and all the wildlife, flora, fauna that was around it that we were thinking about in the last question. So yeah, I just love my tree.
Two notes on that. The first one being flora, fauna, and a third one, Merryweather, are the fairies from Sleeping Beauty. But also fairies are real. I'm just saying. But also what you said about feeling like it gives you everything you need reminds me of some of the things that we post on our Instagram page, which is translates into you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. You couldn't do it any better. You know, the universe is out of your control. Sometimes you just got to flow with it. And I think, especially as someone that knows you very well, you are someone who goes back and forth with, I should be doing this, but actually it's okay that I'm not. But I should be doing this, but actually it's okay that I'm not. And I love that you wrote, my tree does exactly what I need it to. Like, you are doing exactly what you need to. I feel like that manifests so well into who you actually are as a person. Gorgeous. Love it.
And there was a quote from another exercise we did pretty recently. I'm definitely going to botch it, but what I took away from it, that Rupi expressed, was just like, in order to process ourselves, our feelings, our emotions, we must kiss them from the roots up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, botched it for sure, but just that concept of like kissing yourself, your woes, your struggles, like bringing them compassion and love from the roots up. It's like, it feels so easy to do for a tree. Like, I love that root. I love that tree from its roots to its tips to that leaf that I am. And yeah, I just really, this gives me such compassion just reading it back again and going through the process. So yeah.
Highly recommend you guys read this back again after you fill it out. Number 5. How does it feel when people walk by and don't notice you?
I don't care that people don't notice me, singularly, and am more proud of my organism and what I do for people. I'm carefree and work naturally. My handwriting is not great, but that was what I wrote.
Yeah.
What did you write for number 5?
That tracks Alyssa, just because of who Alyssa is in everyday life. Alyssa will wear whatever, do whatever. You guys saw on our Instagram page, she will swing on a swing as high as she can. She does not care if other people notice, if they do, if they don't. So that, I anticipated that answer and I love it. I wrote, like, they're missing out on the magic, but it's okay because not everyone should have access to magic because they don't use it in a positive manner.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah. People who come and cut down some trees. Not the opposite of the kind of noticing you would want, is where my mind went. Yeah.
Or even reading it back just now, I didn't have this thought until right now. I thought about who you are as a person is magic, right? Whether everyone likes you or everyone dislikes you, who you are, who you truly know yourself to be is magic. And when people don't treat your magic with respect, they gots to go. Time to cut it. Time to make some cuts. And so sometimes it is okay. It's very similar to one of those sayings that is similar to it's okay that not everyone's in every chapter. Not everyone goes throughout the whole book. Also botching this, but they don't have to be part of the whole story. It's okay if they're just one chapter because they're not responsible with your magic. And that's I like reading that back. That was a good one.
Yeah. And it was so interesting. You've referred to like magic a lot through this. And I think that is a telltale of Emily and like where some of your confidence may have come from. Last episode, you kind of talked about some things that you struggle with, but I always thought you were like the most confident, beautiful woman on the face of the earth, which you are. But it's like, I think this is where it's like, okay, I realize that I have a lot to bring to the table and I'm not going to stand for when people disrespect me. And when I say that out loud, I'm like, oh, that is Emily. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Guys, this is so fun.
Leaves.
We're also leaves, but like how you feel as this leaf is also a reflection of how you're feeling in real life. And this is a very powerful practice to go through on your own. But if you can go through it with a friend as well, or maybe do it and then talk about it with a friend, this is so much fun. 10 out of 10 recommend. What's number 6, Liz? What do we got?
How does it feel to be noticed?
How does it feel to be noticed? I wrote, it makes me happy to see people find happiness with me, but it's also not necessary for my personal happiness because my tree gives me what I need.
I love that. And if you couldn't tell, Emily and I have not gone over this together beforehand. We're kind of exploring this together, and it's been surprising and really fun.
Yeah. What'd you write?
And for me, as that little leaf, my little aspen leaf, it feels great for bears to come up and rub on me and give me a scratch, which now when I read that, I'm like, oh, okay, that's the tree, not the leaf. But that's okay. Perhaps I'm old and people really gawk at me. I'm deep in the forest and have a great view, so who cares? So I guess it feels nice to be noticed, but you have to earn the notice of me because I apparently want to be deep in the forest and not easy to be noticed by at least human life.
Well, you're, for lack of a better term, you're not easily accessible, right? Which kind of ties into the type A fun that we both love, where it's like if you want to see those things and you want to experience them, you have to work for it. And I think that is a beautiful translation to adult relationships. I'm not just giving out, my time for free. My time is sacred. You have to earn that shit, Hell yeah. I love that. Okay.
What a great talent you have at like connecting prompts to like people's benefits and values. I think like me as a therapist, like it would be kind of weird if like everything that the person said, I'm like, yeah, and this is what makes you so great and blah, 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 blah. Like that would only be healthy for like 10% of a session. But like Emily doesn't have to have those like stipulations that I do as a therapist. So she's just like, yeah, and this connects to your life in these ways. And like just you finding all these intricacies is so interesting and so fun because my brain is like not going this way as well. But I'm going to try to think on like Emily brain here and there too, because it's really fast.
Thank you for the compliment, but think like you, and nobody has to experience this the way I'm experiencing it. The thing about me, guys, is I want you to win. So if we're talking about something and I'm excited and I'm like, Hell yeah, Alyssa. Like, that's you. Let's talk about that. I'm going to say it. So, experience your way. But I just love that deeper connection. And it's fun to do this in an exercise like this. If you're someone where you're like, I just want to be a leaf on a tree, stop making this real life, by all means, you do you.
Yeah, come back next
time. All right, number 7. In general, what are your thoughts on human beings?
Who cares? I wrote. Why do they cut me down and ruin the earth? That's all I wrote. What about you?
I wrote one word. Ignorant.
Ooh.
That's all I wrote.
Yeah.
I don't. Humans are the worst. We suck.
We're the best and we're the worst. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Question 8.
Question 8. Moving on.
What does the wind feel like when it hits your back?
I wrote, it feels like freedom. The wind brings me the freedom to go and do anything that I wish to. The wind brings magic. And I wrote that because I tied it back to real life, where when we get to the summit of a hike or something really profound happens when I'm out in nature, the wind always blows. And when I was writing this, I was actually outside, and recently I've been very concerned at my job about getting laid off. And I looked up at the sky, and when I looked up, my grandfather's wind chime from his funeral was right there. And I looked at it and I was like, I'm not getting laid off. I refuse. Come back later. And then the wind blew and the chime blew. And I was like, okay, heard. So I think I was in the moment feeling that for sure.
Yeah.
Would you write?
The wind moves me in every direction. The breeze feels fluttering and relaxing. I love! !
There's just something about the element of wind that is so liberating. It makes you feel so strong. It makes you feel like you accomplished something. It makes you feel like you've started anew, or like it just makes you feel good when you're in it. Also, it can completely destroy your life. So that's a fun parallel.
Makes you so present. And I think that is what like makes some of this freedom feeling, because you could have been thinking about, the worst day ever, how something destroyed your life, what have you. And then you take a moment and you feel the wind on your skin. And for that moment, if only that moment, you are present. And I think that is a really powerful aspect of this question. And also, it was like, what does the wind feel like when it hits your back? So as a leaf, is the wind hitting my back? And do I have a back as a leaf? I don't know. But let's not overanalyze.
I actually thought about that too, though. Before you move on, I thought about that too. And when I was thinking about it, I wonder what other people consider the back of the leaf. Because for me, I'm thinking about the part where all my veins are sticking out and protruding. And if I were doing an arts and craft, I would paint that side of the leaf and then put that side down on the paper and roll it so it made a print. That was my back when I was thinking of it. But I'm interested to know, are people putting the leaf up and finding shoulders and a head? What does it look like for you? So interesting.
Yeah. Thanks for describing that, though. I think that's what I was maybe also thinking about too. But you could kind of forget on that question, am I a human again? But then number 9, when the wind lifts you off your tree and takes you dancing, what do you say to it? So as a leaf, what do you say?
I say, thank you for the push to do something I love. What do you say?
You say thank you. That's so nice. I wrote 2 sentences, and I feel like each would be a quote as my leaf. Take me where you want is my first quote. And then I thought about like wherever the wind takes me, and that like kind of quote that you hear sometimes, and it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Like this is dancing and freeing and magical and like, really whimsical. Like wherever the wind does take me, I'm just gonna follow that. So
Mhm.
maybe one of my favorite questions.
What's the quote that you said, Liz, on our Instagram when you first introduced yourself? It was about a disco ball, and it was so playful and beautiful, and it makes me think of this question. God, if I can't find it, I'm gonna go look it up right now because
Oh, it's follow the call of the disco ball.
follow the call of the yes, follow the call of the disco ball. This made me think of that question, made me think of that. Yes. Number 10. Do you like losing control?
Absolutely. Let me fall into a stream and float up to a thermal with the birds. The end. What about you?
And this is where Alyssa and I are very different. I love control, and people like her push me past the need for it. So I wrote absolutely not as a human. I wrote absolutely not as a human, but in the sense of a leaf, I crave it, I need it, and it's free flowing like nature.
I love that. Gives me the giggles.
That's because you know me. I am a control freak. I want everything to be the way that I want it, and I want it to be right.
I think that's apparent when you answer for yourself first and then allow yourself to answer as the leaf. As me, absolutely not. As this leaf, though, sure.
Sure. Whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's like kind of telling. You're like, I crave it, I need it, I want it. So it's like, a little bit of a learning piece for you. Like, how do I bring in this aspect to my life?
Totally. And if you go back to what you said, I think it might have been like question 2, 3, and you had said something along the lines of like a leaf has nothing to do, nowhere to be, there's no need for control when you're a leaf. And so my mind goes to how nice. I love being a leaf. I would love to not have to feel like I need control. So as a leaf, I crave it. It's what I need. It's what I look forward to, because as a human, I don't get that.
Are you a white rabbit, always late for a very important date? Are you a Cheshire cat that just rolls around on a tree and slowly disappears to who knows where? Who knows? Maybe a little both.
I think I'm the cat because being late makes me want to curl up into a ball and die. So
okay.
I'd rather disappear.
So you don't like losing control. Number 11. Finish this sentence. The wind takes me to.
The wind takes me to my next adventure, a place where I can be anyone, anything, and there is absolutely no limit to what comes next.
The wind takes me to see all the beautiful things until I seep back into the earth and am recreated for something else.
I love your environmentalistic mind.
Number 12. Where is this new destination and why has the wind brought you here?
It's in a place free of worry where I can just do what leaves do, what they love to do, be at peace. Because, this is the human part of my brain came in on this next sentence. Because right now I struggle to break free on my own.
Yeah, and there ain't no shame in journaling for more than 2 to 3 sentences and like kind of getting into your feels about certain things. That's, could definitely be expanded upon, which is great.
Absolutely.
The preface. And here's my thoughts. Okay, wait, that was the other one. Number 12. Where's the new destination? There's no reason the wind brought me. It brought me slowly down a pass. Maybe I'm stuck near Beaverton. So I'm just like really this leaf in my head still. I have not thought as a human form since the back question about the wind.
But I love that because it's so interesting to see the way the different minds take these prompts, and it just goes to show it's very similar to meditation. There's no wrong way to do this. I have gone back and forth between leaf and human about 100 times, and Alyssa is just trying to be compostable at this point. So
yeah, what am I up to next? Do you miss being on your tree? I said nope, ... maybe question mark. That was kind of like I struggled with that question. So I'm curious for your answer because I kind of just skipped it a little bit.
I said a little bit, but I like to move around and I know that I can always go back. Because at this point in the prompt, I was channeling my inner Pocahontas, the Disney version. And I was specifically the Disney version. And I had the song Colors of the Wind in my head, and I thought to myself, the wind, if it was meant to be and I was supposed to go back to that tree, the wind would take me back. You know, nothing is a mistake. I am where I am. You miss where you come from sometimes. But if the wind is going to take me back, it's going to take me back. And if it's not, okay.
Yeah. And leaves always grow back. If the tree is alive, each season the leaves will return. So
reincarnation. I hope to come back as a dog in my next life, not a leaf, but that's okay. All right. 14. Second to last question. If you had one wish, what would it be?
I wish my body were as free as a leaf, able to follow the wind or any whim. I wish consequences were lower and money didn't matter and I could be simple and float wherever. I wrote this before bed.
Amen. Mine is very similar. I wrote to exist in a space where I feel satisfied and safe, where I don't feel like everything is contingent upon my profession and how much money I make, and I can be free to do the things that I love.
I heard satisfied, safe, free, and love, which were my words I want to pick out from there and sit with those for a little while today. Good answer. No wrong answer. Great answer.
Freedom a lot in this prompt. I feel like this prompt for me was a lot about freedom.
Yeah.
Maybe feel stuck. Number 15, our last question for the prompt. Any last words?
I wrote, thanks be, thankful thee, thank me, gratitude. Maybe a little accidental poem. But yeah, I felt really grateful for this practice at the end. So that's where I went. What are your last words?
Wait, I love that. That needs to go on our Instagram or in a book somewhere. I wrote, I love you to myself.
Aw. I'm getting emotional.
So, everyone, thank you for going through that with us. I want to dive in a little bit before we leave you today. As we read this backlist, what stood out to you about going through this journaling prompt? How did you feel when you were doing it? And then how do you feel now that we've gone back through and read it again?
Yeah. I'm going to start with how do I feel now, because I picked out those words at the end. And then you mentioned freedom a lot, magic, and another word that came up that I don't think was mentioned is this idea of impermanence. And that is just, I think, important for my brain to like seep that up, because it's like, leaves are not permanent. They will not last for more than a season or two. So yeah, I'm just like kind of feeling more connected now, especially to you. I'm also feeling more connected to myself after just like talking about it out loud. In the moment at the time, I kind of really followed the instructions of like, don't overthink it too much. So I was really just like letting words kind of pour out of me. And, you know, looking back, like I really loved some of the things I said. It kind of felt like poetic. And then other things, when I said like, nope, maybe, it's like, yeah, I just let my brain kind of like think what it wanted to think and then move on. So I really liked this process. And I think that's why this artist, this author is such a talented being because of the way that she guides you through things. I think we have a lot of talents and skills, but this woman is like, just cream of the crop, been through a lot of stuff. And I'm really like just filled with gratitude that we are still working on this book, years later, because we've had it for a while now. I think you gifted it to me. So yeah. How do you feel about it now, about it before?
Yeah, I think so. When I was doing it, when I was in it, I was feeling very stuck in a space of, even before I started it, what do I do next? And I recognize now, reading it back, that came out in my thought process as a leaf, right? It was very much connected to my real life. And so while I was doing it, when I was done, I thought to myself, oh my God, that was so fun. Like, I'm so glad we did this. I can't wait to talk to you about it. And now that we've read back through it, I still feel that way. But I also feel like I feel inspired. I feel good. I feel like this is one of those moments where I very much believe, right, in energy in the universe giving you signs. And I feel very much, after filling out this prompt, that this is a sign for me that, like, what I'm doing right now is beneficial to me in the sense of money and healthcare and learning, because I do like to take different facets of life and learn from what I'm doing. And it's going to help me when I finally take the steps to step into something that I really love. That being said, I feel like this is a stepping stone into what I really love. I feel like this is that little push that's like, okay, we're starting to get there. On top of, I felt like our podcast, I feel like talking with our friends is one of those steps. I feel like doing this prompt was another one of them, where it's like, okay, what comes next? Like, how are we going to fill our cup? What's going to bring us joy? Because based off of this prompt, what's bringing me joy is not where I am right now. And when we say the word joy, I think about the newest Inside Out movie that just came out. And the character Joy said, maybe as you grow up, you just feel a little less joy. And oh my God, I started bawling, and I was like, no, we need to feel. And then, like, we're filling out this prompt, and I'm like, we need to feel more joy. We need more yellow. So I'm feeling inspired is my shorthand term for that.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's interesting that we both like somehow mentioned, I think, the literal word money in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me sad a little bit. And it makes me think like, I need more yellow. Let's that kind of green. Yeah, just like a little process. Like, how do we align ourselves with, what does, make a living? Because, we do need money, at least at this point, until I get my commune with my friends. And how do you align your life to like the things that do keep joy alive? And even if it's just like having a book club with your buddies and like getting to talk about one journal prompt, every other month or something, like just having that connection, I think can, keep that yellow going around in our bodies, which I love that.
I think that, to your point, Liz, something that journaling can be really helpful with, if you're someone that can't think about what you want to write down, prompts are great, but they're not necessary. You don't have, we would love for you guys to go buy this book, because we're going to keep working from it and talking to you about it as we work from it. That being said, you don't have to. You can write down anything. You don't have to write down how you're feeling. You can, but you don't have to. You could just write down like what you see today. We could go through those happiness idols that we talked about in our last episode, write those down. We could talk about, you know, as you're journaling, if you're like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to write about today, I want to write, but I don't know. You could think about some of the things in terms of therapy techniques that Alyssa talked about in our earlier podcast, where it's like, what do I see? What do I smell? What do I hear? What do I feel? What do I taste? And from there, like if you see something, if I'm sitting at my house and I see a leaf fall from a tree and I write leaf fell from tree, and then I come back to it after all of my senses and I'm like, what does it mean when a leaf falls from a tree? How does that leaf feel? It's literally what we did today. We took something as simple as a leaf and turned it into feelings. You can start anywhere, and I would really recommend that you use this as an outlet, as one of those things that helps you stay grounded, because the world is a crazy place right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know with depression specifically, it's like really hard to get started. It's really hard to just like, you know, put the pen to paper. And that's okay. So two options. If you feel like you don't want to prompt and you just want to like scribble around, you can just free write and just kind of write whatever, rip it up, throw it away after. And then another thing that I just actually did this week, I had a prompt given to me by my coworker for a mindfulness practice, and it was basically the five senses, not the three senses. And it wasn't journaling about it. It was just trying to think about the senses. And the last one was, what do you taste? And I was eating like a yummy smoothie in the moment, and I was like not having the best day. I just was so glad I was eating something nutritious. And I just sat and mindfully drank the smoothie and thought about how it tasted. And that was my mindfulness practice. So, you know, if you want to join us for journaling and have your own writing practice, that is incredible. And if you can't get there yet, like try some senses or just like mindfully eat something. I don't know. Let us know what works for you, because it's always different for everyone. If you're into Pokemon, I just made an analogy the other day for one of my clients. And if you like Pokemon, it's like, okay, so you have 6 Pokemon in your pack when you're going out and battling other Pokemon, which if you think about that is a whole messed up process. But it's like, if you use the same Pokemon all the time, what happens to the Pokemon? It faints, and then it needs to go to the healing center and be healed. And so if you have these skills and tools and you're only using one forever and hoping that that one is going to, you know, serve you forever, and you're not using the other ones, the other Pokemon, then that one's going to get really tired, and you're going to, you know, it's not going to work for you anymore. So just having some tools that you can go back and forth with is so great, because your most favorite tool is at some point going to fail you for a time. And that is okay, as long as you have some other ones. And so if only we are giving you random tools throughout this practice, then great. My work here is still going to be talking with Emily, but it can be done.
It's fulfilling. And I love that you made the point, Liz, where it can't be the same thing all the time. You equate it to Pokemon, which is way more fun than what I equated it to. I used to talk to my weight loss clients and say, you know, at some point you're going to get bored. You can't just eat chicken and broccoli every single day. I mean, you can, but at some point it's way easier to break your good habits. It's all about balance, right? And so if you take what Alyssa and I are saying and you apply it to your mindfulness practices, staying grounded, feeling better internally, your mental health. If you're not down with journaling, that's okay, but you might give it a try and see if it could be a backup tool, because whatever you are doing at some point does become redundant. Alyssa and I are huge proprietors of yoga. We love it. But when we are super stressed, there are times where we just don't make time for our practice, and there has to be something else that is a stress relief. We were just talking about that before we got on the call today, where we were like, yeah, my body's like super mad at me right now, you know, because I'm not doing yoga and I just don't have time and I'm stressed out and it hurts. And there has to be other resources for relief. So that's fantastic point, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because it is scary to try new things, but sometimes trying those new things can really lead us down a path of enlightenment.
Yep. Little by little, the leaves will go to wherever they go. But point of that is little by little, it doesn't all just like, oh yeah, this is my new tool. I just acquired this Pokemon and it is at level 100. It's like, no. You got this Pokemon. It just hatched from its egg. Like, you got some work to do. So don't be overwhelmed if you can avoid that. But we're here if you want to, chat. Your soul sisters are here.
Your soul sisters. We thank you so much. We fly. In case anyone out there, especially my personal coven, is listening, we love us some Sanderson sisters. But we thank you so much for being here with us today, being vulnerable with us, letting us be vulnerable. We would love to hear from you if you have any additional tools or feedback for us, and we look forward to talking to you again very, very soon.
Thank you.